So the jab, why is it important? The jab has a lot of jobs. It has an important job. It's your rangefinder. It is an offensive weapon. It also acts as a defensive weapon if you use it a certain way. So let's talk about how do you use it, right? So using your jab as offense. First, you want your hands up, right? That's always number one, hands up. And you want to throw your jab always straight, right? It's a straight punch. So one of your two straight punches is your jab and then your cross, right? So your number one, we call it the number one, is your jab. So with your jab, you want to be in position and you want to aim, boom. Think about it like this. I'm punching at my own face, right? So that's my, jab to the face. And what you want to do is you want to rotate your wrist, right, slightly. So you're really concentrating on these two knuckles. That's where you're really trying to land, right? You're trying to land those two biggest knuckles in your hand. And you want to do that because those two knuckles are lined up with your wrist, with your forearm at the strongest point in your forearm. The other two fingers are the weakest. So if you're trying to land too much on the other side of the hand, that's where injury can happen most. So you want to land with the two fingers, right? The two middle knuckle fingers in the front. You want to get a slight rotation. So as you're throwing it, you're getting that connection right there, right? So that's your basic jab to the face. Now how it looks from the side, I'm gonna turn this way. So you want to be in line with all your punches for that matter. You want to protect your own jaw. So you want to throw the punch where you're protecting yourself with your own shoulder, right? So you're throwing it and you want to keep your head inside the turtle shell, right? That's how you got to think about it. Keep yourself inside, right? So if a punch comes over the top for some reason, you get countered, at least you got some protection, back, because you're most vulnerable when you're throwing also, right? It's not just keeping your hands up. You have to throw punches in order to engage, right? So you're going to be most vulnerable when you're throwing a punch. So to mitigate that, again, you want to keep your head inside the turtle shell. So throwing your punch, keeping yourself inside, right? Boom, boom, right? And this can happen even if you change level. So I'm gonna back up, and if you throw to the body, right? So you throw head and you throw jab to the body, you want to bring yourself down. Bring yourself down a level, right? So you're changing levels. Don't just stand straight up. Don't stand straight up and do this, right? That leaves you, a lot more wide open because you're not in the turtle shell. But if you bring yourself down with it, you're in the turtle shell somewhat. Now, you're not completely protected. You never will be. That's just the truth in boxing. You're never completely protected, but you don't want to leave openings for someone who knows how to exploit them. The little details matter. So that's your basic, jab, for offense. Now, throwing it for defense is really about a mentality. It's not really about a tactic, right? Defensively, using your jab is to keep a hand in their face, right? Keeping them blinded, keeping them occupied. When you're trying to throw offensively, it's about you landing, right? It's just purely about you landing, scoring, to set up your other punches and, be completely offensive. For a defensive mindset, you're trying to keep them busy, right? You're trying to keep them thinking, right? So you might be called what we call a flick jab, right? You're kind of flicking it out there, you're keeping them busy. It's not really meant to land hard. It's more like, hey, just in case, I got this one cocked and ready. So stay out of my space because I don't like you here. That's your mentality when you're throwing the jab for defense, because you can quickly change it to offense because you're keeping busy. And that's why it's such an important punch, because you can't do that with any other punch, because the risk of throwing all the other punches poses too much danger for counters. Imagine you try to do that with a cross, right? It's too much time, right, for you to get into that motion. The body has to be a lot more involved with your other punches for you to use them in a way that would be offensive and defensive. So you have to be very careful. So all the other punches poses too much danger, right? To throw them, they take too much time. You know, your cross, your hook, your uppercut, excuse me. They all take too much time. So you can't really use those as a defensive punch. Those are purely offensive. But the jab can be, right? Because it's less movement for you to get back to home. So after you throw your punch, you can get back to home a lot faster. So you throw it and you're back home, right? You're home a lot faster. So that's always the best option for throwing a jab. So that's the way you would throw it. So if you call a flick jab, right? You know, keeping them busy, you know, putting it out there. You might be backing up. Maybe you're hurt. Maybe you're tired. The least you could do is throw a jab to keep them from thinking about just walking you down, because that's when you can be in the most, you know, have the biggest problem. So